Maritime Made is presented by Nova Scotia Business Inc., helping businesses across the province grow through export. For more information, novascotiabusiness.com.
At Bulwark Cider, located in New Ross, Nova Scotia, everything depends on one thing: fresh, crisp apples. Cider is, in a way, very simple to make. Combining juiced apples with yeast causes fermentation to occur. Creating a balanced blend, however, is complicated. Just like wine, cider calls for quality fruit and sound winemaking skills to get great results. The process starts with the pressing of the apples. Bulwark Cider is one of the only cider makers in North America who press their own apples. And all their apples are grown locally in the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. A variety of local apples are loaded onto the production line. The apples are poured into an apple basin that is filled with water. The water allows the apples to float, which helps prevent bruising. As the apples move along the conveyor belt, they're washed. A worker manually checks and removes any remaining debris, such as leaves that may have been in the apple bin. Another worker is operating the flow of the conveyor belt. The clean apples move up and along the belt and into the hopper, where the apples are ground. The husks of rice kernels are pumped up and fed into the grinder with the apples. Rice husks play a very important role. They add bulk to the ground apples, making them easier to work with. 1 bag of rice husks are used for each 8 or 9 bins of apples. From the hopper, the ground mash is pumped over to the apple press. A worker fills each of the fiberglass bags in the press, controlling the flow with foot pedals. The press operates like an accordion, squeezing one half of the press first, then the second half, squeezing out the pure, delicious apple juice. The worker uses a paddle to loosen the pressed mash from the sides of the bags. When the press has done its job, the press dumps the remaining pulp into a bin. The pure juice flows down under the press and is pumped into holding tanks. The remaining pulp is either composted on site or picked up by local farmers for animal feed. Bulwark Cider is made using at least 5 different types of local apples in each batch. Apples are delivered as needed by Scotian Gold. The best ingredients give the best results. Honey Crisps, Russets, Sonias, Macintosh, Golden Delicious, Ambrosia, and more. Today, 90 bins of apples are being pressed and will create approximately 20,000 liters of cider. Once pressed, the juice is held in 2 tanks where it will ferment for 5 to 6 weeks. When the tanks are full, the winemaker does several tests. One of the tests is called specific gravity. It measures the sugar content of the juice. The sugar content determines the finished alcohol content. Next, the pH or acidity is tested. The tanks are temperature controlled. When the juice reaches the right temperature, yeast is added to begin the fermentation process. Fermentation will take 2 to 3 weeks. Enzymes and a clarifying agent are added to drag the solids to the bottom of the tank. This process takes another 10 days. When making Bulwark's special rum cider, this is the point in the process where the rum is added. The cider then sits for another week. At this point, the cider goes through a sterile filtration process and is ready for carbonation. Next, the cider is then pumped into 15 psi carbonation tanks, where carbon dioxide is added to the tanks. The juice has to be cold to be carbonated. Once carbonated, it's ready to be bottled. Shipped in from Germany, the cider bottles are loaded onto the bottling line. This bottling line can process 2,500 bottles in an hour. The bottles first move along the line to the labeling station. Here, adhesive labels move through a series of rollers where they're secured onto the bottles using compressed air. A worker checks the control panel, which monitors the speed, counts bottles, and manages the specifications for the labels. Bottles then move along the line to the next station for rinsing. Here, each bottle is loaded and tipped upside down. Water is then sprayed into the bottom of the bottle. Next is the filling station. The cider is pumped from the carbonation tanks to the drum on this filler. As the drum fills, it cools the cider to -2 degrees Celsius to reduce foaming. 12 bottles move through the filler at a time. Finally, the bottles move from the filler to the capping station. A drum is filled with Bulwark caps, which are then fed out individually and secured to the bottles. This capper uses compressed air to secure the caps to the bottles. The bottles are then loaded by hand into 6-packs. The 6-packs are carefully stacked and palletized for delivery. Bulwark cider is also shipped to local restaurants in 20-liter kegs. Winner of Product of the Year in 2016, Bulwark cider is available in many delicious varieties.